the big picture to AI agents and how much we can rely on them versus human when analyzing human feedback. Please welcome Maurice. Maurice is a co-founder and co-CEO of Caplena. And feel free to go on the stage, Maurice. Fun fact about Maurice, that is a very specific memory, that he cannot remember names after hearing that, but can remember a specific code, a 25-digit Counter-Strike license code he used when he was 16. Maurice, over to you.
Yeah, it's up to you to decide which skill would be more useful in life. I would have decided for the other one. But yes, good morning, everyone, and welcome to my session on agents on feedback data. How far should you let them run? As mentioned, my name is Maurice. I have a technical background. I have been working on AI for over 10 years now, back in the days when it was still called machine learning. Have trained my own transformer models there and modified them. So usually I apologize for making technical statements, but from the first conversations today, I feel like the audience is fairly technical. So I am hopeful that I don't bore you too much if I make some technical excursions as well. Can I move to the... yeah, perfect. Right. I'm here today as co-founder of Caplena. We have been around for almost 8 years now. And for those of you that don't know us, a quick introduction on what we do. So we are a feedback intelligence layer that helps you make sense of your customer experience, customer feedback, or employee feedback data. We sit on top of any collection systems that you might have. That might be survey tools, customer experience tools like Medallia, Qualtrics, but also internal systems or review sites. We then ingest that data and do a high-quality text analysis, topic analysis on that, help you normalize the data, enrich the data, and finally make nice reports and presentations, and of course also use agents to dig into the details of that feedback data. So with that, let's get started with today's topic. And I want to start with a situation that probably many of you know. You sit in a meeting and some question is asked. Which feature should we build, for example? Oftentimes, the problem will not be that there are too few opinions. People will have ideas like we should build a fancy, shiny new AI chatbot. But what is usually missing is the data foundation for why this is now the customer's opinion or why this is important. And the way it usually ends is that the person with the loudest voice or the most fancy title will win the argument, and the conversation goes on. Now, this problem is not merely a feeling, it's really grounded in data, of course. 70% of the data questions are never asked because the effort is just too high to ask them. We cannot ask every single question. We wouldn't find time for that. The reason, as I mentioned, is not that we're lazy or people don't want to be data-driven. It's that we just cannot boil the ocean all the time. I mean, you can imagine, ask yourself, if you're in a meeting and a question is asked, wouldn't it be interesting to know ABC? How much time would you really be willing to spend on answering that question in a data-driven way? Would it be 1 hour? Probably not. 20 minutes? Maybe 5 minutes? That's probably the threshold we need to aim for if we want that all these quick questions are explored in detail and not with the loudest voice. So there is this super secret technology that nobody is talking about at all that can help us dig into this, right? And of course, I'm talking about LLMs. LLMs, kind of the synonym for AI nowadays. LLMs are this superhuman thing with a bunch of cognitive issues. That's not me that says that. That's Andrej Karpathy, one of the co-founders of OpenAI. I have linked a presentation of his from end of last year. Great presentation. If anyone is working on AI software, you should watch that. Can highly recommend it. So you probably all know that LLMs are fascinating. They have this encyclopedic knowledge on the one hand, better than any human, but they have major issues as well. They hallucinate. They have retrograde amnesia, so they will forget everything you said in the next conversation. It's always fun. I still do a lot of coding nowadays, still myself, of course, with agents. And if you point out a mistake, they say like, yeah, you're right. I'll not do that mistake again. And yeah, you will. In the very next turn, you will do it again because you don't have any memory, right? And finally, they exhibit kind of a jagged intelligence. So they're very good at many tasks that are very complex for us, but very bad at things that are seemingly simple for us. So these Bart Simpson-esque type tasks, write a word 137 times. That's something that is super hard for LLMs without using some tricks that a lot of the UIs will do nowadays, for example, use code to actually generate these 137 repetitions. But counting, quantifying is something that LLMs are really not good at. Nevertheless, progress has been amazing, right? And there are many ways to measure the intelligence of LLMs with fancy, called things like humanity's last exam. But for me, the best way to visualize the progress that has been made on these foundational models is to measure it in how complex of a task can you give them and measure that as a function of how long it would take a human to solve that task. So there is a benchmark for this, and if you look at the data, you see that with the release of GPT-3, so GPT 3.5, that was ChatGPT, right? The first sort of public awareness for LLMs. There you were in the range of a couple of seconds. An LLM could perform a task of a couple of seconds in 80% of the time correctly. Nowadays, we're in the range of a couple of hours. So a task that would take a human a couple of hours, an LLM can solve 80% of the time correctly on the first take. This is our software development task, but they're quite well suited for benchmarks. But a second part on the improvement side is that we have learned as software developers to make better use of LLMs. And I think this can be summarized a bit in this move from insights, from chats to agents. Now, everybody's talking about agents. I want to give you a back of the envelope definition of what I understand from these, from agents. So first of all, agents, they do not give you just the first thing that comes to their head, which is what you get usually from a chat, but they approach a problem in a structured way. They iteratively go through the problem. They might make a plan, then they can use tools that they have at their hand to gather information from other systems, refine their plan, maybe falsify their hypothesis. They can take actions in other systems, trigger actions in other systems, and in this iterative approach, hopefully reach their final goal. So this move to agents is another part of why LLMs or AI systems are so much more powerful. We are able to give a better harness that empowers us to solve more complex tasks. How does this look like in our system? In our system, we have an agent as well that helps you answer customer feedback. It's a multi-agent system, so nowadays you try to divide up the problem into more simple sub-problems that each agent can then solve. We have an analysis agent that actually performs the analysis. We have a response agent that creates a nice message in the end, formatted for the user. And these agents have a lot of tools at their hand to get to their task's goal. Now, the first question that is always asked is, can I trust the numbers? Can I really trust the data that comes out of such an answer? And for this to be true, I think there are two prerequisites that we need to fulfill. First of all, you need to let the quantification and the data analysis be done in these tools in a standardized, quantified way. You don't want the LLM to do the counting, the quantification itself, right? You need to have structured tools ready that provided, and that's the second point, bite-sized pieces of information. LLMs need context to be able to answer correctly, but if you dump too much context on them, there's a very high chance that it will get lost. It will forget its way and sort of drift off and just give you back gibberish. So you have to have quantification that is solid, and you have bite-sized information. So a lot of theory. How does this look like? And I want to show you a quick screen recording of what our Insight agent can do nowadays and sort of show its capabilities and its limits. So we are working on a data set here of airport reviews. It's a couple of 10,000 airport reviews from Google Maps. And I have a question. I want to know, for each of the top 3 rated airports in Europe, give me the topics with the highest share of negative mentions and a couple of examples. And what the agent has to do now, it has to first do a query to find the top 3 rated airports. Disclaimer, it's slightly sped up. It's a bit slower in real life. Then for each of these 3 airports, it has to do a query to find the most negative topics. And then for each of the topics, it has to do another couple of queries to find relevant sample data from it. And finally, it will present you kind of a finished report with the top rated airport being Helsinki, and the most common issue there, still the check-in security and border. But with a MER 4.7%, I think they're doing really, really well there. 4.7% negative mentions. So this is kind of where we are. Now back to our question. Are we at that place where we can say all data-driven questions should be, or all questions should be answered with data-driven responses? The reality is that alone the requirement of having to go into a third-party application or remembering which third-party application it is where you should ask that question, logging in and finding the place you can post that question, in many situations actually violates this 5-minute rule already. So the reality is, in many cases, we will actually not be there yet, and we still need to become better. And this is why we are have a strong opinion. We are convinced that these kind of research tools need to be merged into everyday workflow tools. And that's why we are, for example, investing a lot in making these insights accessible through Slack, Microsoft Teams, or these tools where people are already. And that will hopefully bring us to below this 5-minute threshold. So with that, I would like to look at 2 concrete examples how customers use us or use these agentic insights, starting with Lufthansa. Lufthansa actually has an in-house built insights hub where they aggregate a lot of data. Among that data, also data from us, from Caplena, which is embedded through an iframe, and they use our agent to help their insights team handle a lot of these questions that come in autonomously. So we're now at hundreds of these ad hoc questions that are asked from stakeholders per month, whereas these questions would otherwise never be asked, or they would swamp the inboxes of the insight team. A second example is 20 minutes. Do you know 20 minutes? Yeah? One person? Okay. It's a very Swiss company, so we're a Swiss company as well. So 20 Minutes is a Swiss newspaper. It started out as Pendlerzeitung. It actually ditched its print newspaper entirely end of last year, so they're purely digital now. But they're actually the most visited online news portal in Switzerland. They have 4 million daily active users that go to the platform. And the interesting thing is that they skipped dashboards and reports completely. They went from no customer analytics, no feedback analytics, to agent-based feedback analytics. They have an insights channel in Slack, which is something I think that we can really recommend, having a shared space where questions are asked, because it encourages other people to ask questions as well, to see what is possible, to maybe also jump in if you see, okay, no, this is a misrepresentation, this is, maybe too simple. So have a common place where you ask these kind of quick data-driven questions and have everyone be able to chime in there. With that, I'm getting towards the end of my presentation, maybe to quickly summarize where we have come from in capabilities and where things are moving to. So in 2023, basically all you could do with such a system would be to ask it, give me a couple of summaries. Give me the summaries of the open ends. That's what it could do. Over the past 3 years or 2 years, we have been able to answer more and more of these more complex data questions, right? Like the ones I asked before, multi-step analysis required to be able to answer the question. What we are currently working on, and this will be starting to be released in the next couple of weeks and over the next couple of months, is that these insights should also be proactive, right? If I have asked about food and beverage topics last week, chances are high I might be interested in having a report again a couple weeks down the line, right? So having the agent autonomously reach out to me with updates on these kind of insights is the next frontier for us. Then maybe towards end of the year, we want to be able to have more context come in to the agent. So also be able to scrape public information, put things into relation with news events that might have happened. And of course, take more actions. And finally, if we look a bit further, then maybe you would want to have an agent. If someone mentions that their refund hasn't gone through, you want an agent to automatically pay out that refund for you in the billing system. Now, I hope no enterprise does that nowadays. I would assume not that nobody lets the agent touch their billing system directly, but that is sort of the place where I think things are moving. And with that, I'm coming to the 3 takeaways I want to leave you with from my session. First of all, 60 to 80% of dashboards are not used or underutilized. This is, I mean, for the amount of money that has been spent on dashboards, this is an insanely high percentage. I'm not saying reports and dashboards are over and dead. I think they absolutely have their place and they will still coexist, but we need to create other forms with which our stakeholders can interact with the data and results. Second, this is a stat of end of last year. Almost half of AI proof of concepts have been scrapped before they reach production. And the most common topic, the most common reason for not reaching production was a lack of data quality on the data layer beneath it. So slapping an agent on dirty data is like putting lipstick on a pig. It's just not going to work. And finally, putting things into context, doing sanity checks, and taking business decisions based on these results remains a crucial human task. So please don't outsource your thinking yet. And with that, I'm at the end of my presentation. You can download the slides with this QR code if you're interested. And yeah, super happy to answer your questions or catch you at the booth later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I actually have one question because I promised at the beginning I'll have these why questions. I like to explore. First, for a minute, why do you think 60 to 80% of the dashboards are not utilized?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think maybe 2 reasons. The first one is sort of accessibility. In a modern company, you will have hundreds of dashboards, and many people are maybe not even aware that these exist, and even getting access to them is such a procedure that it's tedious enough to even find them, which again speaks for the argument of having central gateways like Microsoft Teams or Slack through which you can access things. And the second problem is that dashboards often need some kind of interpretation. If I come in there with a specific question of mine, I often need to, it doesn't answer that specific question directly, right? I need to try to find a way to make that dashboard represent the question in the most close way I can, but it will never be an exact match, right? And so combining it with agents, I think, enables us to have an easier way for people to grasp those results as well.
Great, thank you for answering on the spot. Thank you.